When you focus on yourself and stay silent, everything falls into place. There comes a point in life when noise stops adding value. Every opinion, every judgment, every whisper around you begins to feel like clutter. And in that moment, you realize the most powerful move you can make is to focus on yourself and stay silent. Silence is misunderstood. People think silence means defeat. But silence isn't giving up, it's leveling up. It's choosing to build when others are busy talking. It's deciding to grow when others are trying to pull you into meaningless noise. When you focus on yourself, you shift your energy from probing to improving. You stop seeking validation. You stop needing applause. You no longer chase people to make them understand your worth, because your growth will speak louder than your explanations ever could. In silence, you build. In silence, you heal. In silence, you discover your strength. Every great transformation starts quietly. No spotlight, no announcement, just discipline, patience, and consistency. You don't have to broadcast your every step. You just have to take it. The universe has a strange way of rewarding those who stay focused. When you stop chasing, the right things start arriving. When you stop explaining, the right people start understanding. And when you stop forcing, everything starts falling into place. Focus on your craft. Focus on your energy. Focus on the person you're becoming. That's where your real power lies. Let them talk. Let them misunderstand. Let them doubt. Your silence will become your loudest roar. Because success doesn't shout, it simply shows up. And when it does, everything that once seemed chaotic suddenly makes sense. So stay silent, stay focused. Trust your journey. Because the moment you choose yourself, everything else begins to choose you too. Silence is not weakness, it's clarity. When you step back from the noise, your vision gets sharper. There is a certain kind of strength that is born not from shouting louder, not from proving harder, but from going quiet and steady. In a world that constantly rewards loudness, chaos, and instant reactions, silence becomes a hidden power. It allows you to rise above distractions and see life with a clearer lens. When everyone is busy responding to everything, your silence becomes your shield. It protects your energy. It guards your peace. It gives you the space to understand what truly matters instead of reacting to what doesn't. When you choose silence, you are not running away. You are standing still with intention. You are giving yourself the room to breathe, to observe, and to understand the world without letting it drown you in noise. Every conversation doesn't need a response. Every opinion doesn't deserve your energy. Every attack doesn't require a defense. Sometimes, the strongest statement you can make is to make none at all. Because silence speaks in ways words never can. It speaks of control. It speaks of confidence. It speaks of a mind that knows its value. When you step back from the noise, your vision sharpens because your focus returns to where it belongs, within. Noise scatters your energy. It makes you doubt your direction. It pulls you into battles that were never yours to fight. But silence, it draws your energy back. It realigns you with your goals. It reminds you why you started. It lets you see things from a higher ground, away from the fog of distractions. And when you rise above that fog, clarity meets you like sunlight breaking through a storm. Clarity is not something found in constant debate. Clarity is found in stillness. It is found in the quiet moments when no one is watching, no one is talking, and no one is demanding anything from you. In those quiet spaces, your mind finally gets the chance to think without pressure. You begin to understand what you want, not what the world wants for you. You begin to feel what's real, not what's forced upon you. And that is where your real decisions are made, not in noise, but in silence. Silence gives you power because it removes urgency. It slows everything down. When people are rushing to react, to prove themselves, to be heard, you stand calm and collected. And in that calmness, your next move becomes strategic instead of emotional. You stop moving blindly and start moving with purpose. You stop allowing the world to dictate your speed. You stop being pushed around by every wave that tries to shake your balance. When you step back, the noise doesn't disappear immediately, but your relationship with it changes. You no longer feel the need to respond to every sound. You learn to observe without absorbing. You see through the surface of things. You begin to understand that not everything deserves your voice. And the moment you understand that, you rise above the chaos that used to control you. Many people mistake silence for weakness because they are addicted to noise. They believe power comes from being the loudest, but real strength is not about volume. Real strength is quiet, steady, unshaken. It's in the eyes that see clearly when everyone else is lost in the storm. It's in the heart that doesn't panic when the world is screaming. It's in the soul that stands tall without needing to prove itself. Silence is a mirror. It reflects everything around you and everything within you. It shows you who is truly with you and who is only loud when the world is listening. It reveals what is real and what is just distraction dressed up as importance. It gives you space to grow without performance. It builds resilience without noise. It makes your foundation unshakable. When your vision becomes sharper, you start making different choices. You choose your battles wisely. You protect your peace like it's your greatest treasure. You become more focused, more grounded, more powerful in a way that doesn't need to be announced. And that power, the quiet, patient, unstoppable kind, is what moves mountains. Because while noise creates confusion, silence creates direction. And when your direction is clear, everything else eventually follows it. Focusing on yourself doesn't make you selfish, it makes you strong. Growth begins where distractions end. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop pouring all your energy into places that don't water you back. The world often convinces people that putting themselves first is a sign of ego, that choosing their own peace is wrong, that focusing on their own growth means they are leaving others behind. But the truth is, focusing on yourself is not abandonment, it's alignment. It's choosing to build from the inside out instead of endlessly trying to fix what's outside. When you decide to focus on yourself, you reclaim your energy. Every distraction that used to pull your attention starts to lose its grip. Every unnecessary comparison, every meaningless competition, every opinion that used to weigh you down begins to fade. You stop living on borrowed expectations. You stop chasing validation. You stop seeking approval from people who were never meant to shape your destiny. And in that quiet space of focus, strength begins to rise. Strength isn't built in noise, it's built in stillness. It's built when you look in the mirror and decide that your growth matters, that your goals matter, that your peace matters. People will misunderstand it because not everyone is used to seeing someone choose themselves. But real strength comes from the courage to prioritize what fuels you over what drains you. It's the discipline to stay on your path even when others don't understand it. Growth begins the moment distractions end. Distractions are clever. They disguise themselves as responsibilities, as relationships, as obligations. They whisper that you can't stop, that you can't slow down, that everyone else's needs come before your own. But the reality is you can't give what you don't have. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't build a strong future while constantly being pulled backward. When you start eliminating distractions, you're not being cold, you're choosing clarity. When the noise quiets down, you finally hear your own voice. That voice that knows what you need. That voice that has been buried under expectations. That voice that has been whispering for years, asking to be heard. And when you listen to it, your life starts moving in alignment with your purpose. You stop living in reaction to everything around you. You stop letting other people's urgency decide the direction of your journey. You become intentional with your time, with your energy, with your presence. Focusing on yourself isn't about shutting the world out. It's about building a version of yourself strong enough to face the world without losing yourself in it. It's about being so rooted in who you are that the storms outside can't shake what's within. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need constant reassurance because your direction comes from your own clarity, not external noise. That kind of focus creates a foundation no one can break. Strength is built in the quiet hours of self-work, in the moments when you choose discipline over distraction, growth over gossip, purpose over pleasing. It's built when you stop trying to be everything for everyone and start becoming something solid for yourself. It's built when you give yourself permission to be your own priority. And that isn't selfishness, that's self-respect. Distractions can be comfortable because they keep you from facing yourself. They keep you busy, they keep you stuck. But growth is never born in comfort. Growth demands space, it demands attention. It demands that you look inward, that you confront your fears, your habits, your patterns, and rebuild from a place of honesty. The moment you give yourself that focus, everything starts to shift. Your energy changes. Your boundaries become stronger. Your standards rise. You stop tolerating what once drained you because you now see the cost of giving your energy to the wrong places. You begin to protect your time like it's sacred. You begin to move with more intention, more clarity, more strength. And that quiet transformation doesn't need applause. It just needs consistency. When distractions fall away, you stop scattering yourself across meaningless places. You begin to grow in one direction. That focused energy creates momentum. And momentum creates change. The more you grow, the more you realize how much you were holding yourself back by trying to be everywhere except where you needed to be, within yourself. And once you find that focus, nothing external can control you the way it once did. When you stop explaining yourself, the world starts observing your actions. There is a quiet power in no longer feeling the need to convince anyone of who you are or what you stand for. The more you explain, the more you give away your energy to those who were never meant to understand. Explanations may satisfy temporary noise, but they don't build lasting truth. Actions do. When you choose to stay focused on your path instead of defending it, the narrative starts to shift. People may doubt your words, but they cannot ignore consistent results. Explaining yourself too much often comes from a place of seeking approval. It's rooted in wanting people to see your intentions, to believe your purpose, to validate your choices. But not everyone is meant to see what you see. Not everyone will understand the vision that was given to you. And when you realize that, something inside you becomes steady. You stop trying to make them understand, and you start building in silence. That's where your strength multiplies. When you no longer explain, your energy becomes focused. All the time that was once spent on convincing people is now invested in growing, improving, and moving forward. You stop fighting battles that don't matter. You stop proving your worth to people who were committed to misunderstanding you from the beginning. You stop shrinking yourself just to fit into a version that makes sense to others. Instead, you let your actions tell the story. Action speaks a language that explanation never can. People may debate your words, twist them, doubt them, but actions are undeniable. When your results start to show, when your growth becomes visible, when your silence turns into progress, people have no choice but to observe. They may not agree, but they cannot deny what stands in front of them. Your work becomes your loudest voice. The moment you stop explaining yourself, you also take your power back. Because every explanation is an emotional transaction. It's giving a part of your energy to someone else's approval. But when you trust your direction, you no longer need that approval. You walk your path with quiet confidence. You let your consistency do the talking. And over time, that silence becomes louder than any justification ever could. Some people don't need your explanation, they need to see your transformation. They don't need you to convince them, they need to witness your consistency. They don't need long conversations, they need undeniable proof. And proof is built through action, not defense. The ones who truly understand won't need explanations, and the ones who constantly demand them will never be satisfied. That's why the most powerful decision is to stop explaining and keep moving. When the world observes your actions, it starts to recalibrate its perception of you. The same people who questioned you begin to watch closely. The same people who doubted your steps start to take note of your results. The same noise that once tried to distract you turns into silence because nothing is more powerful than quiet, steady progress. And this shift doesn't happen overnight. It happens when you keep choosing action over argument, discipline over drama, purpose over approval. Explanations are temporary, but actions leave a mark. They build trust not through words, but through patterns. When you show up consistently, you become undeniable. People may not say it out loud, but they notice. They see how you didn't waste time justifying. They see how you stayed focused when others got distracted. They see how you turned doubt into fuel. And that silent respect is far more valuable than forced understanding. Every moment you choose not to explain, you are teaching the world how to treat your energy. You are showing that your time is too valuable to waste on defending what's already clear to you. You are setting boundaries that don't need to be announced. You are building a reputation not through speeches but through proof. And that kind of presence is unshakable. Your actions become your voice, your results become your language, and your silence becomes your power. People forget arguments, but they remember what they saw you do. They remember how you kept walking. They remember how you stayed steady. And over time, the world stops asking questions because the answer is already in front of them. Energy flows where attention goes. The more you invest in yourself, the more everything else aligns naturally. Life responds to focus. Whatever you give your energy to grows, whether it's your goals, your habits, your fears, or your distractions. When your attention is scattered, so is your energy. And when your energy is scattered, your growth slows down. But the moment you start turning that energy inward, choosing to build yourself, instead of trying to control everything around you, things begin to shift in quiet but powerful ways. Investing in yourself is not just about external achievements. It's about strengthening your mind, your discipline, your clarity, and your inner peace. When you make yourself your priority, your energy becomes clean. You stop pouring it into places that drain you. You stop chasing things that were never meant to hold your focus. You start nurturing your goals with the same consistency that once went into distractions. And when that happens, alignment follows naturally, not forcefully. Attention is like sunlight. Whatever it touches begins to grow. If your attention is on negativity, negativity expands. If your attention is on doubt, doubt becomes louder. But if your attention is on growth, growth becomes unstoppable. When you feed your dreams with your energy daily, when you build habits that serve you instead of hurt you, when you choose intentional action over mindless reaction, the universe begins to mirror that energy back to you. Things that once seemed complicated start to become clear. Paths that once felt blocked begin to open. When you invest in yourself, you're not being selfish, you're becoming powerful. Because everything external in your life is a reflection of what happens internally. When your foundation is strong, your relationships, your work, your vision, and your purpose all start aligning. You begin to attract opportunities that match your energy. You stop forcing outcomes because your growth naturally creates results. It's not about controlling every detail, it's about controlling your focus. Energy doesn't lie. If you give your best energy to things that don't grow you, life will reflect that imbalance back. But if you direct that same energy toward building yourself, everything around you eventually shifts to match it. Your confidence grows, your boundaries strengthen, and your direction sharpens. What once felt like chaos starts to organize itself around the strength you're creating within. You stop trying to chase alignment and start embodying it. Every small investment in yourself compounds over time. 1 hour focus every day becomes a new mindset. One habit consistently practiced becomes a new identity. One shift in attention creates a ripple effect that touches everything else in your life. You may not see the results immediately, but the energy you put in is never wasted. It builds beneath the surface, quietly aligning everything around it. When you focus your energy inward, distractions begin to lose their power. The same things that once consumed your time and emotions start to feel smaller because your vision becomes bigger. The more you grow, the less interested you become in the noise around you. You realize that your attention is the most valuable currency you own, and wasting it on meaningless things costs you your potential. So you begin to spend it wisely. People often chase alignment without realizing it isn't something you find outside of yourself. Alignment starts the moment you decide to pour your energy where it matters most. When your actions match your goals, when your habits reflect your vision, when your daily focus aligns with your purpose, life begins to flow more smoothly. What once felt forced begins to unfold naturally. Energy flowing in the right direction creates momentum. Momentum creates consistency. Consistency builds results. And results create a new reality. Every breakthrough begins with a single decision to redirect your attention. Instead of fighting circumstances, you begin building yourself. Instead of blaming everything outside, you start strengthening everything within. And slowly, the external world adjusts to the energy you've created. You can't control every detail of life, but you can control where your energy goes. And where your energy goes decides what grows. That is why investing in yourself is never waste in effort. It is the root of everything else. When your inner world is stable, your outer world follows that rhythm. When you rise internally, the world around you rises with you. And this alignment is not forced into existence. It's created through focus, through quiet investment, through the daily decision to build your energy instead of letting it be consumed. Real power isn't in proving, it's in becoming. The need to prove yourself often comes from a place of insecurity, from a quiet fear that who you are is not enough unless the world approves. But the moment you shift from proving to becoming, everything changes. Proving is external. It seeks validation. It chases applause. It bends itself to meet expectations that were never yours to carry. Becoming is internal. It grows in silence. It builds strength from within. It does not ask for permission to exist. When you're constantly trying to prove, your energy gets scattered. Every move becomes about how it looks instead of how it feels. Every action becomes a performance. You find yourself trapped in an endless cycle of convincing people who have already made up their minds. You hand them the power to define your worth. But when you choose to become, you stop performing and start evolving. You stop explaining and start embodying. You stop chasing validation and start creating your own path. Becoming isn't loud. It doesn't demand to be seen. It doesn't need applause to keep going. It's the quiet discipline of showing up for yourself every single day. It's the inner transformation that happens long before anyone notices. Real power is built when no one is watching, when you're not trying to impress, when your actions are driven by purpose, not pressure. And that power, the kind that's grown in silence, cannot be taken away by anyone's opinion. When you stop proving, you reclaim your energy. Every explanation, every justification, every attempt to convince others drains a part of you. But when you let go of that need, that same energy flows back into your growth. You start building for yourself, not for applause. You start walking your path without needing everyone to understand. And over time, the results of becoming speak louder than the noise of proving ever could. Proving is fragile. It depends on how others respond. It can be shaken by a single doubt, a single criticism, a single moment of misunderstanding. But becoming is unshakable. It's built on a foundation that doesn't rely on anyone else's approval. It's a personal journey, a quiet commitment between who you are and who you're becoming. It doesn't crumble when people don't notice. It doesn't weaken when people don't believe. It keeps growing quietly, steadily, powerfully. Real power doesn't rush to be recognized. It trusts time. It trusts the process. It trusts the strength of consistent becoming. People may not see the work behind the scenes. They may not understand the sacrifices, the discipline, the quiet battles you fight every day. But none of that matters because your journey isn't about them. It's about the person you are building. It's about aligning with your purpose. It's about becoming someone who doesn't need to prove their worth because their presence already speaks it. When you live in proving mode, your worth is constantly at risk. It can rise or fall depending on how the world reacts, but when you live in becoming mode, your worth remains steady. It's not for sale. It's not up for debate. It grows stronger with every step you take, with every habit you build, with every layer of strength you add. This is where real power lies, not in trying to convince the world, but in building yourself into someone undeniable. Becoming demands patience. It requires you to walk through silence. It asks you to be okay with being unseen for a while. But that quiet season is where transformation takes root. It's where you outgrow your need to impress. It's where your focus shifts inward, where every step becomes intentional. And eventually, the world begins to see what you've been building all along, not because you shouted about it, but because it became impossible to ignore. Power that's built on proving fades with the noise. Power that's built on becoming grows with time. When you focus on becoming, your presence speaks without words, your actions align without effort. Your strength radiates without explanation. That is the kind of power no one can take, no one can question, no one can diminish. It's not borrowed from the world. It's built within you, one quiet, deliberate step at a time. You don't have to chase what's meant for you. When you grow, it finds you. So much of life is spent running after things, people, and opportunities we believe will complete us. The chase becomes endless, exhausting, and often filled with quiet fear that if we stop running, we'll be left behind. But what is truly meant for you doesn't require desperate pursuit. It aligns with you the moment you step into your growth. The moment you start becoming the version of yourself that can hold it, it comes closer without force. When you chase, your energy becomes restless. You start gripping too tightly, fearing loss before you've even received anything. You settle for less because your focus is on not losing instead of growing. But when you grow, your energy shifts. Growth creates alignment. Instead of begging for doors to open, you become the kind of person doors open for. Instead of convincing opportunities to stay, you become the kind of person opportunities are drawn to. Chasing is rooted in lack. It comes from a belief that you are incomplete, that what you want exists outside of you, and that if you don't run after it, it will never be yours. Growth is rooted in abundance. It understands that what is meant for you will not miss you when you are ready for it. Growth builds the foundation, the mindset, the strength, and the clarity to receive what once felt far away. It turns longing into readiness. The world reflects back who you are, not what you chase. When you are aligned with your purpose, when your habits match your vision, when your energy rises to a new level, the things that belong to that level begin to gravitate toward you. People notice. Opportunities appear. Doors that once stayed closed begin to open, not because you forced them, but because you grew into the version of yourself that belongs on the other side. Growth has a quiet magnetism. It doesn't scream, it doesn't beg. It simply radiates. And that radiance draws the right things closer while naturally pushing the wrong things away. When you focus on growing, you no longer chase temporary things that drain you. You stop begging for attention, love, or success. You start holding your energy differently. And in that shift, everything that is not aligned with your future begins to fall away. What is meant for you doesn't just come because you want it. It comes when you're ready to hold it without breaking yourself in the process. Growth shapes you into that person. It teaches you patience. It builds resilience. It sharpens your clarity so you can tell the difference between something that looks right and something that truly is right. It aligns your steps with your purpose so that what once felt far out of reach starts finding its way to you. Chasing often comes with fear. Growth comes with trust. Trust that what's meant for you won't pass you by. Trust that your efforts are not in vain. Trust that timing has its own rhythm and that your job is to become, not to beg. When you understand this, peace replaces desperation. You no longer measure your worth by what you have in this moment. You measure it by who you're becoming. Growth doesn't happen overnight. It's built in small, consistent steps. It's in how you treat yourself when no one is watching. It's in how you choose discipline over distraction. It's in the way you protect your energy and focus on your vision. These small choices create the version of you that no longer chases, because you understand that what's meant for you will recognize you when the time is right. The more you grow, the less you cling. You stop forcing what isn't meant for you to stay. You stop trying to convince temporary people or opportunities to become permanent. You let go of the desperate grip and replace it with quiet confidence. And that confidence is magnetic. It pulls the right things toward you without chaos, without begging, without fear. When you grow, you stop chasing because you finally understand your worth. You know that the right things won't require you to shrink, to beg, or to break yourself. They will align naturally, in their own time, with the person you've become. And in that alignment, what's meant for you finds its way home without you ever having to run after it.